Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Yoga's Arc. And today is a different type of practice. It's in replace of a massage. And I know right now, if you get massages regularly, that is probably not occurring. And I'm going to show you a way that you can massage from head to toe using whatever tools. I usually use tennis balls, but all the tennis balls that I own are in our storage units with all of our Yoga's Arc equipment. But thankfully my husband had two somewhat like rocket balls, and they're super like firm, so they're going to be perfect to demonstrate what I have in store for you today. Now, this isn't really physical exercise, but please listen to your body, and you want to make sure that you do not overdo the self-massaging. So sometimes the pain feels so good that we can easily bruise ourselves, especially if you're using something harder. So you want to make sure that you pay attention and don't go past your edge with some of these intense moves. Getting a lot of feedback about how people love hearing the birds, and maybe I'll crack this window so you can hear them a little more. It's a little chilly. Okay. Of course, oh, I almost tripped over. I'm going to start standing because we're going to get our feet first, but I've got to read our angel meditation card and see what message it brings us today. The angel of spontaneity. I choose to be spontaneous in my interactions with life. When we free ourselves from limiting beliefs and values, the spiritual energy flows through us naturally. Without the inhibitions that imprison our minds and hearts, we develop an ability to tune into the essence within people and things and dissipate the fear and emotions that block us from being spontaneous. There isn't a time to be spontaneous. Now would be the time while we're stuck in social distancing practice. Okay, last sentence. The precision of spontaneity is something present in nature and flows as a gift of love. So it's important that we all do a little bit of spontaneous stuff with our families while we're in lockdown here. This is going to be my timer. So each exercise that we do or massage tool I teach you, we will do for 3 minutes. And you can do them for up to like 5, even longer. I'm going to just do a little intro. Turn the volume up a little bit. Okay. So let's begin by massaging our feet. Hopefully you have, if you're using golf balls, you want to be super careful and make sure it's not too intense because it's such a hard surface. Get my glasses on. So we start at a little bit of a lunge. So I have first, the ball underneath my right foot. And I use my left foot a little back so I can lean into my right foot. And I start to roll. And as you roll, you want to be really explorative. You're going to take the full time in each to control your own journey. So as I'm rolling here, if I find something interesting, I pause at it. So when you find like an achy area, you want to pause. No, you gotta leave it. It's mama's. It's a problem if you have animals. They think it's your toy, their toy. You gotta leave it. It's mama's. And some of the important areas to hit as you massage is the inner arch of your foot. This is Koa, by the way, if you haven't met Koa. He's such a baby. We rescued him 4 years ago. And there's Dakota in the chair that you can't see, but you'll hear him. So anyway, you want to get the inner arch of your foot because we carry a lot of stuff in our feet. And if you haven't had like reflexology done or like a foot massage, if you look at the bottom of your foot, right under like the balls of your toes is kind of like from here up in your body, and your arch is like your middle center, your organs, and the heel is your leg. So when you hit certain areas that are achy, it can help release in other areas. And we'll explore that after we're done with this foot. Another thing I want to recommend that you do is make sure you stretch the toes. So I like to put my heel down and place the tennis ball like right under the middle balls of the toes, and I stretch the toes over the ball. You'll probably find some interesting things. And make sure you get on the outer arch of your foot. Again, pausing and putting as much pressure when you find something interesting. Ooh, right by the heel. Yes. And if you want to spend more time, you can simply, whatever device you're using, just keep pressing pause, spend as much time as you want, and then press play to move on to the other exercise. It's really good to do regularly, and for plantar fasciitis and such, if you need, you can take 2 little, or even just one, like a water bottle, and freeze it with the water in it, and use that to roll on, and that can help. It's like icing and massaging at the same time. And there's our timer. Now before we switch to side 2, stand in mountain pose and close your eyes and take a good 30 seconds here, 5 to 10 breaths, to notice the difference from side to side. You might feel like more of your foot is planted, your leg might feel longer or softer. You might feel different. Take a few more breaths here, just noticing. And always, if you have questions, please reach out to us at Yoga's Arc. Okay, side 2. Now, most people feel a big significant difference from side to side. Allergy season for sure. And most people feel more intensity in the left side. It's just what people have said. You know, my animal is just in the perfect spot for you to be able to see. But hopefully you get the gist, since this is foot 2. And as you roll, same thing. See if you find different. See if you find same. And pause where you need to. For me, I feel more in my right foot, but that's just me. Remember, we need to get around the arch, the inside of the arch, the outside of the arch. These are great, like if you work and you're sitting a lot, to just take 2 tennis balls and leave them in a desk drawer or somewhere close by, and you can, while you're sitting in your chair, you can roll while you're sitting. And again, I have become a yoga practitioner in peace and quiet. I practice with no music, no nothing, just like my outside. But if you like music, make sure you have another device to play whatever it is you like in the background. And this one instructor I love on demand, and she plays such loud music, and I don't have a choice but to listen to it. So if I don't play music, you have the choice. My husband's in a meeting in his office on the other side of this wall, so there might be times where you hear him. We have 1 more minute, so if you haven't gotten to the heel, make sure you get to the heel. And again, remember, you can just pause. Make sure you get to the arch. And remember to stretch the toes by putting your heel down and taking your ball right around the balls of your toes and spreading and rounding the toes over the ball. We have about 15 seconds. It's good to end with a good once over. Just to get things going. And there you have it. Let's do what we did again. Just stand and notice what it feels like. And let's come down. So the rest of our exercises or our massage techniques that we'll use with these will be from the floor. Some are not as easy to find. We are going to work our hamstrings, and to get to the hamstrings, we have 3 hamstring heads, and the hamstring heads connect to the sits bone. So what we want to work on is getting from the top of the hamstring down. It's easier to do both for some and one for some. If you do both, you put both tennis balls like right underneath your hamstring area. Take your hands behind you, lift your hips, and come onto, with straight legs, the tennis balls. And for me, I have a lot of work to do in my hamstrings. So right away, I feel this. I'm dropping it in the spaces and all that tight fascia. And you have to kind of relax and let yourself sink into it. If it's too intense to hold yourself on both, you very simply take one out and do one. For me, it's easier to do both. So I'm going to continue to do both. If you want to do one at a time, take the time to do one and press pause. Take the time to do the other, or you can just rewind and listen to me again for your timer. Now what we're working on is finding the spots that you need. So our outer hamstring head, if you feel that more, your tennis balls will be out towards the outer hamstrings. You have your inner, and then you have your middle. And what we want to do, like it's already been a minute, we start to come down towards the knees by rolling back. So I lifted myself up, rolled further back, so now the tennis balls are in the middle of my hamstrings. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this one, sometimes it's hard for people to find. So it might take some practice. Don't feel like you have to be an expert or know exactly how to get into it right away. It takes time sometimes. We're about halfway. And again, you can take more time. I'm gonna roll back a little bit. We want to eventually be towards the tops of our backs of our knees. Right now I'm in about the middle of my hamstrings and it's still pretty edgy, and we have just over a minute. This is like getting a massage, so it's important to hydrate. This is my other rescue, Dakota. He's 7. Say hi to the camera. Good boy. Good boy. You my handsome baby. Oh, thank you for the kiss. We appreciate it. You can't see right here. There's 2 big sofa chairs with bed cover, like couch covers, and big windows outlooking the front. Okay, I gotta roll down. And they just sit in the chairs and watch the birds and the bunnies and the dogs walk to the mountain. It's like their heaven. They're spoiled. You got about 15 seconds left. And if you're still at the very top going, oh my gosh, pause, take some time. We're not going anywhere for a few weeks, right? Now, if you did one, make sure you stop and go to the other side. If you want to rewind for the 3 minutes, or if you want to just time it or approximate it, you can. Next thing, let's move down the leg towards our calf. And this we'll do one at a time. So you take one of your tennis balls under the right calf and start to roll from side to side. Now for some of you, especially if you do a lot of running, a lot of athletic work, sports work, and you have a lot going on, this is fine, you don't need any more. For those of you who are like, I feel it, but I want more pressure, what you'll do is take your other leg and cross it over. So the weight of your opposite calf pressing down helps add that little bit of extra. And then the third place, if you want even more in that tight spot that you found, you can lean forward, like a forward fold. So it's kind of like 3 levels to getting deeper into your calf. And again, we work, like for me, I feel it more in the outer calf. So I'm gonna hang out here for a little bit. For some of you, you might feel it more in the inner calf if your inner thighs are more tight than your outer. For some of you, it might be right down the center. We still have 2 minutes, and it's not as much space to explore as your hamstrings, but it's just as important. And I continue to roll my way back. I'm still working towards the outer and breathing through it. This is actually really good for mobility in your ankles, right? When we start to open up all that tight fascia and the backs of our legs, it helps get more rotation in our ankles. We're about halfway there. I'm about halfway down my calf. I got some pretty tight stuff going on. I spent 25 years teaching on average 2 group fitness classes a day, anywhere from step to spinning to kickbox to boot camps. I taught everything but Zumba, I think. And step aerobics way back, double step. And it put a lot of wear and tear on my body. And so I'm still, this is my 6th year of working on recovering the physical ailments that it caused and the drain on my adrenals, and I've used yoga to heal, and it's been phenomenal. Okay, I'm gonna roll down. We only have about 30 more seconds. I just want a really good knot right there. I'm gonna hang out right here for a little bit. And remember, you have the option to just pause and keep going. Another thing that's been recommended, if we release a lot of toxins, right, when we do massage work or yoga work. So if you're feeling really achy and sore, Epsom salt baths are good. We have time for it. Just hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. I'm so glad today was myofascial release for you all. Okay, pause. Let's just take a moment. Notice it feels a lot more just flatter towards the ground, not as tight. It's nice. Side 2. So it's interesting, and on this side for me, I feel it more in the center of my calf to the inner. So on my left side, my inner thigh is more tight, and my right is my outer. And I believe probably as a fitness instructor, I did a lot of demonstrating on the right, and then I would walk around and help people on the left. And also, I believe if you're doing any kind of cycling, it's really important to pay attention to make sure that you're pushing and pulling evenly with both legs. And I wonder if I was imbalanced while teaching. But it doesn't matter. I'm working on releasing whatever caused it. None of our bodies were ever made to be the same from side to side. And a lot of times when we practice yoga, it's when we really notice how different our bodies are from side to side. It's good to take time to point and flex and round your ankle. I know I kind of mentioned it with mobility to the ankle, but if you do that while stretching your calf, it can get interesting too. Make sure you're breathing. We're about halfway, so if you haven't moved yet, coming towards the back of my mat, so I'm moving a tennis ball, I should say my racquetball, versus me moving on it. I would recommend, if you're loving this, you know, to add it into your regimen. So if you spend time exercising every day, maybe take some time after, pick 2 or 3 areas and do some massaging while you're resting. I thought Ko was coming back from the visit. He's just switching positions. We've got only about 20 seconds left, so if you've got more places to explore, make sure you do. Press pause if you need more time. Okay. From here, let's get to our upper back. It's the last thing we'll do before coming to full laying down. And you need some wall space for this. I'll use this behind me. And you take the tennis ball. Sometimes it's easier to put it in a sock so you can hold the sock and it won't fall. And you come back to a wall and you put the tennis ball between your back and the wall. Okay, so it takes a little bit of push and pull. So I have to use my opposite hand, put the ball there, lean into it, and lean enough so that it holds the ball there. And again, if you have it in the bottom of the sock, you just hold the sock here and then it won't fall. So already I found a huge knot and I'm just holding. Some things that you can do, you just kind of sway and you only do the right side. We'll switch for the left. So you can kind of roll side to side. Make sure you focus on getting all the way down around your entire shoulder blade. So turning around to show you, you want to hit all this area in between the shoulder blade and the scapula, okay? So, back to where I was. I say so a lot. And I'm also going to scoot my mat back so I can sit on it much more comfortable. And one thing I like to do to manipulate movement, obviously rolling side to side is important, is the arm. So you lift your arm and you start to roll it. You can lift up and down, right? So I'm in my tight area and then I'm moving the arm around. So you have the option of rolling around, which sometimes the ball will drop and that's okay. That's why we're sitting. Oh, I found something really interesting. That's why I'm just going to stay still for a sec. And, you know, this is the computer hand too. So you might find that your, whatever arm you write with, that side might be more intense. So you can move your back into the wall or keep the spot and move your arm and shoulder, rotate your shoulder a little bit to find different stuff. And we talk about connective tissue, right? It's all connected. And it's really interesting, like right now, I feel it all the way down the front of my chest, even though I'm pressing into my back, and I feel it all the way down to my lower back. So I'm releasing a spot that's connected to the front and to my lower back. So it can be very interesting what you find. And I'm gonna go a little lower. Wow. And again, when you find something interesting, no need to run from it. Just keep breathing. Okay. I found something very interesting. And like I just found something, I'm of course moving on because this is to teach you, but please feel free to press pause. For me, I'm moving to my left side. I'm curious to see, after I've been doing so much working from home, I feel a large difference. Yeah, this one's not as harsh at all. But it's still important to give both sides love, right? Yes. And that's why sometimes it takes time to explore, and that's okay. There's a spot. And it's in a completely different area than on the right side. And it's interesting to think about when we wake up. We hardly sit straight when we're sitting on the couch or drinking our coffee or doing whatever we're doing. Meditation, if we're seated, we do typically try to sit straight, but other times we're not thinking about it. So we're slouching over in crooked positions from the start of our day. And then what do? Well, right now we're not driving much, but when we drive to work, we're slouching over our steering wheel. And we're slouching over something that we're working on. We slouch on the way home from work. We slouch over cooking. We slouch when we eat. We drive crooked, right? We're pressing with the right. Think about how crooked we are just from being right-handed or left-handed. And then we go to sleep and we sleep crazy, right? And all of that stuff has an effect on our body, which is why practicing yoga and this kind of stuff is super important to work towards balance. And in the next 23 hours, we go crooked again. Oh, it's amazing what the human body does. Now we have a minute left if you're doing the 3-minute marks like me. If you, again, paused, you just pause again. And you can come back to this practice anytime you want. A lot of times you can do myofascial work. A lot of people use the foam rollers. A lot more people have access to small tennis balls or racquetballs, etc. than foam rollers, so I wanted to make this where we can all access it. Continue to breathe. You've got 30 more seconds. I'm still in the same spot that I found, but it's pretty intense. So I'm just not gonna leave it. I should move my arm around a little bit for my last 10 seconds. It's okay that we're not equal from side to side. Our skeletons are definitely not equal. And there's your 3-minute mark there. Okay, the next one, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little painful, so you need to be careful. And we'll do one side at a time. The next one is we're laying on our belly on the ball, doing one at a time. If you have an extra towel, especially if you're on a hard service, I need my extra blanket. To show you what this looks like, you will have the tennis ball working your hip flexor and top of your quad, while your other leg will be bent like this, and you'll be using this part of the knee to kind of help maneuver here. And that's what my second blanket is for. We only use one at a time, so I'll take one of my tennis balls, put it to the side, maybe I'll hide it in case my animal decides to play with it. This is to the side of my mat, and my left knee that will be bent will be on that. So I lay to start on my belly, press start, and take the tennis ball under my right thigh and bend this knee. I'm either propped up, I'll put my hair up for the next one. Propped up on my forearms, which can make it more intense, right? You can tuck your toes and notice it's helping me roll. But if you are really sensitive here, you can pause and take your arms out and lay. This is actually more intense this way. Wow. Good stuff, everybody. Good stuff. So here again, call what? Leave that. You gotta leave it. Come here. So you take your ball and do your best and breathe through it. Yes, my little sniffer dog. We have 1 minute down, 2 to go, but that again, it's your journey. And just be gentle, right? We don't want to overdo it here. It's pretty intense for me, which makes me quiet, right? Because I'm breathing through it. You can come down towards your knee a little bit, right? You can venture. And then I'm pausing again. We have just under a minute on this side in case any of you haven't ventured and you want to. Take as much time as you need. This is definitely my magic spot. Just a few more breaths here. And there's our timer. Tennis balls, they do roll away from us. So you just remove it. You can either lay on your belly, take a moment. I'm gonna put my hair up, get out of my face. And to side 2 we go. You can either turn around or move your blanket to the opposite side of your mat. You can have 2 different angles here. So I start by leaning forward. You can lay down. Tennis ball under the left thigh. Start. I bend my right knee. And just as agonizing on this side for me. So I go easy, right? I just ease my way into it. Breathe, breathe, breathe. If you think about what we do when we sit, sitting in a chair is constant passive flexion in our hip flexors. And they get so tight from not being able to lengthen much. Then it pulls and sometimes can cause some pain in our lower backs. So when we take the time to open the front of our hip flexors and quads, it can release some of our lower back tension. The other side for me was definitely tighter. I should try the inner thigh more here because my inner thigh is tighter on my left, so maybe I should try going to the inner. Yes, see? Gotta play a little bit, not assume it's gonna be the same spot on both sides. For me, it's in a different area for sure. We're about halfway there. So like I said, for me, my outer right thigh, my inner left thigh are tight. So I had to make adjustments here to get into my inner left thigh. We have 1 minute left in the 3-minute mark. There are some days where when I massage myself where the whole time I spend in one spot. Just keep listening to your body. It's your journey that you create. Sometimes it's why we enjoy this more than massage therapy. Sometimes, because we control how long we pause and breathe into a knot. It's in our control. So there are benefits to this. And of course, benefits to going to the experts as well. Last few breaths here. Okay, let's carefully release. I like to take a little child's pose after that. Just sitting the hips back, extending the arms, resting. There's your husband in his meeting. Okay. Moving into some of the good stuff. The glutes, the lower back, some of my favorites. Okay. So this next one is for kind of like the beginning of our IT band, all that really tight stuff that's right here in the upper outer glute area. And all of this tight fascia is what we can sometimes hear people say, oh, I have sciatica, or they have numbness and tingling, or a lot of pain in this area. So this is good for all of the above, all of that. Get this blanket out of the way. We'll use 2, okay? I'll do my best to explain this over video, but you can always reach out to me if there's questions. info@yogazark.com. My timer is set. So you lay down with your knees bent, lift your hips, and take your tennis balls right to the sides of your tailbone, as we call it. So it's on the glutes to the sides of your middle triangular bone, okay? From here, starting with my right, so I roll off the left one, okay? I leave the tennis ball under my right glute and I literally roll onto the right side. And from here, I'm pressing off with my left foot, so it controls how much I lean into the tennis ball under my right glute. And I'm exploring that whole area in the side and my glute muscle. And I'm lifting and lowering my right knee, kind of like a butterfly wing, to get into stuff, okay? Now let me show you the next level. You want to go a little deeper. Lift your right foot, crush your right ankle over your left thigh, and drop in. Wow, is all I have to say. So for some of you, you're going to find stuff right away. Some of you are going to have to really roll in that entire outer hip glute area from up to your hip point till down to your glute area until you find stuff. You might have to even kind of roll to your side body to find interesting stuff. I am finding lots of stuff. This is one of my favorites. He is so loud, isn't he? just as loud as me. Keep breathing. We've got 1 more minute on this side, but of course, as I've said over and over, you can take as much time here as you'd like. One thing that's great about when there's outside noises and distractions that come into any type of practice I'm teaching is meditation. We're not supposed to be in complete quiet without distractions. It's the noises around us that we learn. That's how we learn to tune things out and focus inward. I can meditate and do a whole practice while he's in the living room watching Star Wars, like on full blast. And I can totally tune him out. It's a gift. We've got to practice. Okay, so carefully come off, and you have, I'm going to switch sides by just rolling onto the left. So I roll off the right, roll onto the left. Whoa. Pretty intense right away. Now on this side, I'm not going to be able to cross. Oh yeah, maybe I will. It just took a second. Good stuff. Good stuff, everybody, going on right here. Arms wherever they're comfortable for you. I am going to lift and cross. You might find that when you go to a place to go more intense, that you don't feel it as much. Like, I don't feel it as much because I think I tense up too much, so I can't cross on this side. And that's okay. Practice with the body you have right now. And be where you're at. The body we have right now is very different than the body we had yesterday. The body that we'll have in an hour. Keep breathing. You've got about 30 seconds to go here. If there's unexplored territory that you need to go to. So you think we've gotten the feet? Oh, I forgot the hands. We'll finish with the hands. This is an intense spot for me, so I get quiet. I forget I'm teaching you. Our last 30 seconds here. And time. We'll stay here for the next one, which is everyone's favorite. Lift. And take a moment if you need to first. This one kind of transitions nicely into this one. Use both tennis balls on your lower back. So we're right around it. This is like free roam. So your hips are lifted, they're dropped straight down on your lower back, and you literally just rock your hips side to side along the rim of your lower back. You can go lower, you can go higher, and just enjoy finding lower back stuff. Most people want to stay here for a long time. And that's why sometimes it's good to have timers. I remember when we were in workshops learning self-myofascial release, nobody wanted to leave each time. She would have to like yell at us, "All right, everybody, let's go." Because it just feels so good. You can also, while you're here, play with, and you might have to bring your balls a little lower towards your to your upper glutes. You can play around with extending one or both legs and stretching. And you can sometimes get the top of your thigh too. Good stuff. Keep breathing through it. That's what I'm doing. Just under a minute. We're on the 3-minute mark. So if you have unexplored territory, look up your spine, your mid-spine. You can play with pelvic tilts, like scooping it up and then arching over them. You can go back and forth. Garbage day, all kinds of adventurous distractions in our myofascial release class. And recording it in real world, in real time. I'll never re-record till it's perfect, because nothing in life is perfect. And there's our 3-minute mark. Carefully lift the hips to release and take some time just resting the hips down for a moment. Of course, we're going to finish with hands and forearms because it's really important, and I forgot that part. At least I remembered before I press stop. A good way to get up is to roll to one side and come on up. And I love some feedback on how this stuff is making you feel in comments. I don't know if you can comment on YouTube, or if I have to change something, but anyway. Okay, the hands. So we can do both hands at the same time. If you have rings, take them off. Put it to the side, don't forget about them. And almost like you're performing CPR or practicing, leaning enough weight and rolling around your hands. Now I want to show you a technique to get into the forearm muscles. So you can do this on a table too, if it's hard for you to do child's pose. So I drop down to one forearm, and then I take the other forearm down, and I roll. I roll into, try to get to the top, so you can get the forearms. Good carpal tunnel prevention. Make sure you get around the pinky edge of your hands. I have some pretty good knots in there. Make sure you get around the meaty part of your thumbs. One thing I love to do is what I call, it's like the Mork and Mindy stretch, depending on your age, if you know. Starting with your pinky and your thumb. And if you do a lot of typing, this is really challenging, so you need to stretch between your fingers. So I bend my fingers a little bit. I press the balls down into the carpet, my mat, and I slide the ball and stretch the space between my fingers. Back about 15 years ago when I was being mentored, I would practice like 2 to 3 times a week with a woman named Kat Meyer from Inner Vision Yoga. And she would make us do this before a handstand practicing. Because if you're walking on your hands, you need to have support. And I like to roll a little bit and stretch between the next 2 fingers. And you can hold these stretches longer, right? I suggest taking a lot more time on your hands, but just for video's sake, the intro to teach you how to do it, and then you take the time to do this. And if you do a lot of typing, I suggest doing this at your desk whenever you think of it. Roll around again. And between your first 2 fingers, pressing and stretching. And between the thumb and the first finger, not really productive. And you might need to use your mat to push down into if you need a little more help. Some of you will, some of you won't. Some of you won't be able to bend the fingers. The more you bend the fingers, the more intense the stretch is. So just be aware of that as well. And make sure you do it once overall when you are finished. So there's a little bit of how you can self-massage at home. Reach out if you have questions or comments. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay sane, keep breathing. Take the time to lay down, relax. Your Shavasana, go take a bath. Anything you need. Namaste.